The 10 duties of a student. The first duty of a student is to keep himself free from impure habits and evil matters. The effort to acquire knowledge is the worship of the mind. It purifies secret faults and takes one closer to God. Prayer is observed by outward organs. And just as outward purity is not gained except by outward organs, worship by the mind, the fountainhead of the acquisition of knowledge, cannot be attained without the removal of bad habits and evil attributes. The prophet said, "Religion is founded on cleanliness, so outward and inward purities are both necessary." God says the polytheists are impure. It is understood from this that purity and impurity are not merely external, as the polytheists also keep their dresses and bodies clean, but because their minds are impure, they are generally impure. Inward purity is of the greatest importance. The prophet therefore said, "Angels do not enter a house wherein there are dogs. The human mind is a house, the abode of angels, the place of their movements." The blameworthy evils like anger, lust, rancor, envy, pride, conceit, and the like are those dogs. When dogs reside in a heart, where is the place for the angels? God takes the secrets of knowledge to the hearts through the angels, and they do not take it except to pure soul. Hazrat Ibn Masud said, "Knowledge is not acquired through much learning. It is a light cast into the heart." A certain sage said, "Knowledge is God-fear. As God said, the learned among the people fear God most." The second duty of a student is to reduce his worldly affairs and keep aloof from kith and kin, as the acquisition of knowledge is not possible in these environments. For this reason, a certain sage said, "God has not gifted two minds to a man." For this reason, another sage said, "Knowledge will not give you its full share until you surrender your entire mind to it." The third duty of a student is not to take pride or exalt himself over the teacher, but rather entrust to him the conduct of all his affairs and submit to his advice as a patient submits to his physician. The prophet said, "It is the habit of a believer not to flatter anyone except when he seeks knowledge." Therefore, a student should not take pride over his teacher. Knowledge cannot be acquired except through modesty and humility. God said, "Here and there is a warning for one who has got a heart or sets up his ear while he himself being a witness." The meaning of having a heart is to be fit for receiving knowledge and being prepared and capable of understanding it. Whatever the teacher recommends to the student, the latter should follow it, putting aside his own opinion. The student should question only in matters which the teacher permits him. Here we find the instance of Moses and Khidr. Khidr said, "You will not ask me anything I do." Still, Moses questioned him, and for that, Khidr separated from him. The fourth duty of a student is that he should first pay no attention to the differences among worldly sciences or the sciences of the hereafter, as it may perplex his mind and he may lose enthusiasm. He should adopt first what the teacher says and should not argue about the different madhabs or sects. The fifth duty is that a student should not miss any branch of knowledge. He should try to become perfect in them, as all branches of learning help one another, and some branches are allied with others. If a man does not master a thing, it becomes his enemy. God says, "When they do not find guidance, they say, 'It is an age-long lie.'" A poet said, "A sweet thing is bitter in the mouth of a patient, as sweet water is tasteless to a sick man." Good knowledge is acquired according to one's genius. It leads man to God or helps him in that way. Each branch of knowledge has its fixed place. He who guards it is like a guard who patrols the frontiers in jihad. Each has a rank in it, and each has a reward in the hereafter according to his rank. The only condition required is that the object of the acquisition of knowledge must be to please God. The sixth duty of a student is that he should not take up all branches of knowledge at a time, but should take up the most important one at first, as life is not sufficient for all branches of knowledge. A little learning, if acquired with enthusiasm, perfects the knowledge of the hereafter, the sciences of worldly usages, and the sciences of revelation. The object of the science of worldly usages is to acquire spiritual knowledge. The goal of spiritual knowledge is to know God. Our object by this knowledge is not that belief which is handed down from generation to generation. Our object for this knowledge is to acquire light arising out of a certain faith which God casts into the soul. Such light was acquired by Hazrat Abu Bakr. The Prophet said about Abu Bakr, "If the faith of the people of the world is weighed against the faith of Abu Bakr, his faith would be heavier." In short, the highest and the noblest of all sciences is to know God. This science is like a sea of which the depth cannot be ascertained. In this science, The highest rank is that of the prophets, then of the friends of God, and finally that of those who follow them. It has been narrated that the portraits of two ancient wise men were seen on the wall of a mosque. One of them held a piece of paper in which it was written, "If you purify everything, do not understand that you have purified even one thing until you know God, and know that He is the cause of all causes and the creator of everything." In the hand of the second man there was a scroll in which it was written, "I removed thirst before by drinking water, and then I have come to know God. But when I have come to know God, my thirst was quenched without any water." The seventh duty of a student is that he should not take up a new branch of learning until he has thoroughly learnt the previous branch of learning, because it is requisite for the acquisition of knowledge. One branch of knowledge is a guide to another branch. God says, "Whosoever has been given the Quran recites it with due recitation." In other words, he does not take up one learning until he masters the previous one. Hazrat Ali said, "Do not conceal truth from men, rather know the truth, then you will be the master of truths." The eighth duty of a student is to know the causes for which noble sciences are known. It can be known from two things: the nobility of its fruit and the authenticity of its principles. Take, for example, the science of religion and medicine. The fruit of the science of religion is to gain an eternal life, and the fruit of the other is to gain a temporary life. From these points of view, the science of religion is more noble as its result is more noble. Take up mathematics and astrology. The former is nobler because it is more authentic in its foundations. From this, it is clear that the science of the knowledge of God, of His angels, of His books, and of His prophets is the noblest, and also the branches of knowledge which help it. The ninth duty of a student is to purify his mind and action with virtues, to gain proximity to God and His angels, and to live in the company of those who live near Him. His aim should not be to gain worldly matters, to acquire riches and properties, to argue with the illiterate, and to show pride and haughtiness. He whose object is to gain the nearness of God should seek such learning as helps towards that goal, namely the knowledge of the hereafter and the learnings which are auxiliary to it. God said, "God will raise in rank those who are believers and to whom knowledge has been given." God said they have got stages, some lower, some higher. The highest rank is that of the prophets, then of the friends of God, then of the learned who are firm in knowledge, and then of the pious who follow them. The 10th duty of a student is that he should keep his attention on the primary object of knowledge. It is not in your power to enjoy the bliss of this world and that of the next world together. This world is a temporary abode. The body is a conveyance, and actions run towards the goal. The goal is God, and nothing else. All bliss and happiness lie in Him. So, give more importance to the sciences which lead to that ultimate goal. There are three kinds of learnings. One kind of learning is like the purchase of commodities in a journey. They are the sciences of medicine, laws, and all other sciences which keep connection with the welfare of the people in the world. 2. Another class of learning is like the science of traveling in the desert and surmounting obstacles. They purify the mind from evil traits and take it to a high place that does not fall to the lot of anyone except those whom God shows favor. 3. The third kind of knowledge is like the knowledge of pilgrimage and its rules and regulations. This is the science of the knowledge of God, His attributes, and the knowledge of the actions of angels. This is the knowledge which cannot be gained except by the Gnostics who are close to Him. Those who are lower in rank than them will also get salvation. God says, "As for one who is of those nearest to God, there is happiness, bounty, and a garden of bliss for him. But as for one who is of the companions of the right hand, there is peace for him." This is a certain truth which they perceived through contemplation. This is clearer than seeing with eyes. They are confirmed in their faith after seeing for themselves. Others are like those who have faith, but without contemplation and without seeing with their own eyes. By the soul I do not mean the heart made up of flesh, but it is a subtle secret essence which the bodily senses fail to perceive. It is a spiritual substance from God, and has been described sometimes by nafs, and sometimes by qalb. The material heart is the vehicle for the spiritual essence to remove the veil from it, as it belongs to the science of revelation, a science which is withheld from men, and there is no permission to discuss it. What is permissible is the discussion that it is a precious jewel and belongs to the world of spirit, and not to the world of matter. God says, "They ask you about the soul. Say, the soul proceeds from the command of my Lord. The connection of the soul with God is nobler than that of all the bodily limbs. To God belong the creation and the command. It is the most precious thing which can carry the trust of God. It is nobler than the heaven and the earth and what they contain, as the latter refuse to bear the trust out of fear of the spiritual world. It has come from God, and it will return to God. It is the spiritual substance which drives towards God. Duties of a teacher. A man has got 4 conditions in relation to wealth. A wealthy man at first produces commodities. Secondly, he hoards his productions and does not seek the aid of others. Thirdly, he spends it for himself and rests satisfied with it. Fourthly, he spends therefrom for another to get honor. The last is the best. Similar are the conditions of knowledge. It is acquired like wealth and has got 4 conditions. 1. The condition of the acquisition of knowledge. 2. The condition after the acquisition of knowledge. 3. The condition wherein he will contemplate and enjoy his achievement. And 4. The condition wherein he would impart his knowledge to others. And this last condition is the best. He who acquires knowledge acts up to it, and teaches it to the people is noble to the angels of heaven and earth. He is like the sun which illumines itself and gives light to other things. Such a man is like a pot of musk which is full of fragrance and gives fragrance to others. He who teaches knowledge to others but does not himself act up to it is like a notebook which does not benefit itself but benefits others, or like an instrument which gives an edge to iron but itself has got no edge, or like a needle which remains naked but sews clothing for others, or like a lamp which gives light to other things but itself burns. Poet said, "Knowledge without action is like a glowing wick, it gives light to others but itself dies burning." Whoever takes up the profession of teaching should observe the following duties. The first duty, he will show kindness and sympathy to the students and treat them as his own children. The prophet said, "I am to you like a father to his son." His object should be to protect the student from the fire of hell. As parents save their children from the fire of this world, so a teacher should save his students or disciples from the fire of hell. The duties of a teacher are more than those of parents. A father is the immediate cause of this transient life, but a teacher is the cause of immortal life. It is because of the spiritual teacher that the hereafter is much remembered. By teacher, I mean the teacher of the sciences of the hereafter, or the sciences of the world with the object of the hereafter. Teacher ruins himself, and also his students, if he teaches for the sake of the world. For this reason, the people of the hereafter are journeying towards the next world and to God and remain absent from the world. The months and years of this world are so many stations of their journey. There is no miserliness in the fortunes of the next world, and so there is no envy among them. They turn to the verse, "The believers are brethren." The second duty of a teacher is to follow the usages and ways of the prophet. In other words, he should not seek remuneration for teaching, but nearness to God therefore. God instructs us to say, "I do not want any remuneration for this from you." Wealth and property are the servants of the body, which is the vehicle of the soul, of which the essence is knowledge, and for which there is honor of the soul. He who searches for wealth in lieu of knowledge is like one whose face is besmeared with impurities, but wants to cleanse his body. In that case, the master is made a servant and the servant a master. The third duty of a teacher is that he should not withhold any advice from his students. After he finishes the outward sciences, he should teach them the inward sciences. He should tell them that the object of education is to gain the nearness of God, not power or richness, and that God created ambition as a means of perpetuating knowledge which is essential for these sciences. The fourth duty of a teacher is to dissuade his students from evil ways with care and caution, with sympathy and not with rebuke and harshness, because in that case it destroys the veil of awe and encourages disobedience. The Holy Prophet is the guide of all teachers. He said, "If men had been forbidden to make porridge of camel's dung, they would have done it, saying that they would not have been forbidden to do it unless there had been some good in it." The fifth duty of a teacher is that he shall not belittle the value of other sciences before his students. He who teaches grammar naturally thinks the science of jurisprudence is bad, and he who teaches jurisprudence discourages the science of traditions, and so on. Such evils are blameworthy. In fact, the teacher of one learning should prepare his students for the study of other learnings, and then he should observe the rules of gradual progress from one stage to another. The sixth duty. The sixth duty that a teacher should do is to teach his students up to the power of their understanding. The students should not be taught such things as are beyond the capacity of their understanding. In this matter, he should follow the prophet, who said, "We prophets form one class. We have been commanded to give every man his rightful place and to speak to men according to their intellect." The prophet said, "When a man speaks such a word to a people who cannot grasp it with their intellect, it becomes a danger to some persons." Hazrat Ali said, pointing to his breast, "There is much knowledge in it, but then there should be some people to understand it." The hearts of pious men are graves of secret matters. From this, it is understood that whatever the teacher knows should not all be communicated to the students at the same time. Jesus Christ said, "Do not hang pearls around the neck of a swine. Wisdom is better than pearls. He who knows it is bad is worse than swine." Once a learned man was questioned about something, but he gave no reply. The questioner said, "Have you not heard that the prophet said, 'He who conceals any useful knowledge will on the resurrection day be bridled with a bridle of fire'?" The learned man said, "You may place the bridle of fire and go. If I do not disclose it to one who understands it, then put the bridle of fire upon me." God said, "Do not give to the fools your property." There is a warning in this verse that it is better to safeguard knowledge from those who might be corrupted by it. To give a thing to one who is not fit for it, and not to give a thing to one who is fit for it, are equally oppressive. A certain poet therefore said, "Should I cast pearls before the illiterate shepherds? They will not understand nor know their worth. If God by his knowledge sends one with knowledge, I will give my goods to him and gain his love. He wastes his learning who gives it to one unworthy. He commits sin who withholds it from one worthy." The seventh duty of a teacher is that he should teach his backward students only such things as are clear and suited to their limited understanding. Every man thinks that his wisdom is perfect, and the greatest fool is he who rests satisfied with the knowledge that his intellect is perfect. In short, the door of debates should not be opened before the common men. The eighth duty of a teacher is that he should himself do what he teaches and should not give a lie to his teaching. Knowledge can be grasped by the internal eye and actions by the external eye. Many people have got external eyes, but very few have got an internal eye. So, if the actions of a teacher are contrary to what he preaches, it does not help towards guidance, but it is like poison. A teacher is like a stamp to clay, and a student is like clay. If the stamp has no character, there is no impression on clay. Or he is like a cane, and the student is like the shadow of the cane. How can the shadow of the cane be straight when the cane itself is crooked? God said, "Do you enjoin good to the people and forget it for yourselves?" Hazrat Ali said, "Two men have broken my back, the learned man who ruins himself and the fool who adopts asceticism. The learned man misleads the people through his sins and the fool through his evil actions.